Okay, so here's a question that gets asked of me all the time. The question is, when I go away and I rent a car, does my car insurance cover me for the car that I'm renting? And the answer to that question, the short answer is yes. Your car insurance, your best coverages will always go over and temporarily cover any car that you're driving temporarily. Now, there's a couple of caveats to this. Number one, you have to be driving within the United States or a certain amount of miles into Mexico or Canada. Now, if you're overseas, then your Allstate insurance coverage will not cover you while you're overseas. Now, the rental car companies have a guy at the counter or a gal at the counter who's going to try and tell you otherwise. So there's a couple things that you got to remember. Number one, your best coverages do transfer. So if you're just carrying liability only, then you won't have any coverage over the rental car. So in that scenario, it might make sense to buy the coverage at the counter. The other scenario, or it might make sense, is they'll tell you that their deductibles are lower. And a lot of the times that is true. Most people carry, for collision and comprehensive, $500 deductibles. And at the counter they do offer you $100 deductibles, sometimes lower, sometimes $0 deductibles. So that's a decision that you have to make. Now, if you want to carry the lower deductibles and go with the counter insurance from the rental car company, then of course you have to pay for that. But that's something that you have to decide whether it's worth it to pay the extra number of dollars per day to buy their insurance to get a lower deductible. But if you choose to waive their insurance, just know that your coverage from your Allstate policy will cover, but you're subject to your $500 deductibles or whatever deductibles you might carry. The last thing that they'll tell you at the rental car counter is that if you do damage to their car and it's taken out of rotation and they're not able to rent it, that your Allstate policy will not cover any loss of business income that they sustain because they're not able to rent that car. That is also 100% true. Now, the reason that you shouldn't worry too much about that is that in that scenario, what we would do here is request a lot report from the rental car company. And if they do have other vehicles that were eligible to be rented during the time that you took their car out of rotation, then they haven't truly lost any business income. So most times they tend to drop that claim. So what I'm saying is, if you pull up at the rental car counter or you get off the rental car shuttle and you're renting the last car in the lot, then it might make sense to take the rental car insurance, the counter insurance, because of that loss of business income. Other than that, most times I just go ahead and use my own insurance. What you can do also is you can call the agency, and during the time you're away and going to be renting a car, you can actually lower your deductibles temporarily, and that will give you the same kind of lower deductible coverage that you could buy from the rental car companies, but at a lower cost. And then just make sure that when you get back that you give us a call back here at the office and return your deductibles to $500 or $1,000 or whatever you had before. If you do this option, and we're more than willing to make these changes for you, it'll save you some money, and again, you get those same coverages that you would get with the lower deductibles. As always, if you have any questions, contact your insurance agent. But just a little hint, little pointer, little insurance tip for you today. Thanks.